That is what 800 plus horsepower sounds like. We're here at VF Engineering at some of the world's best superchargers. Let's check them out. Hi Nick.
Hi, welcome.
Thanks. Beautiful place here.
Thank you.
Awesome cars.
It's our toy store, that's what we call it.
Wow. Yeah,
So
okay.
Lambo parties and McLaren parties regularly, every
Yep.
Friday night.
And what about Audi R8? You're well known.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
the R8s are one of our favorites. They share all the engines with the Lambos.
Exactly.
Fantastic cars.
Beautiful. Well, let's start off with the McLaren. We'd
let's
like
have
to
a
know what you're doing with this 570S.
Yeah, so this is a 2017 570S. It came in for ECU tuning and it already had an aftermarket high flow exhaust system. So what this enthusiast wanted was some flames.
Well, and I see you got an X pipe here which do produce flames, right?
Right, so this is an off-road exhaust system, no cats, and what that allows us to do is run extra fuel on decel, and then we can you know, get the flames and the pop effects as we do. And we've got a dyno here, and we test everything on the dyno. So we're offering sort of custom calibration, ECU tuning, and we also offer like off-the-shelf tuning, so our dealers around the world can also supply and install this software.
Nice.
Yeah, so the software typically gains around about 100 horsepower at the wheels.
Stock standard setup, stock standard turbos.
Yes.
Nothing upgraded, just the software, no exhaust upgrade.
Correct. The stock intercoolers, everything, stock exhaust, and the software, literally just the software adds 100 horsepower.
So 670S, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Really strong car. We found them to be reliable. You know, people talk about McLaren's reliability, but we've really only seen challenges with like accessories, like maybe the doors or the stereo system. But we've found the engines to be quite reliable.
Mechanically, they're reliable cars.
Exactly, yeah.
And powerful. They are very quick. Do you have a rough estimate, 0 to 60 miles an hour?
It really depends on the tyres and the driver, but we typically see them shave off about half a second.
Wow. So this is pretty much in 675 LT territory, you could say.
Very much so, very much so, yeah. You know, the gearing differences between the different cars also makes a difference in acceleration. This is actually very close to a 675.
Wow. And the cost for this setup?
Software on the 570 Stage 2 software is $4,500 US. And the Stage 1 is $3,800.
Okay, and this exhaust?
This exhaust is, we're not really familiar with the costings, but it's made by another company, and it's a titanium setup. We don't typically sell and install exhausts from other companies, but we sort of specialize in ECU tuning and the superchargers that we build.
And there is, obviously, you wouldn't want to supercharge this car because it's a twin turbo, so it doesn't need it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot of people wonder and ask us, hey, can you supercharge this car? And the word supercharging now is kind of changing its meaning from our perspective. It's more like, can you, turn up the dial? So add more power, add more boost. So whether it's a turbo or we're going to add a supercharger, we can give it some more life.
So you can all do that via the ECU, tune that up, change the values, and there you go. Yeah,
and we can talk about how we do that when we're looking at the car over there on the dyno.
The Porsche.
Yeah, that's being tuned right now. So
we'll
talk about that. Right next to us, we have a 2020 Huracan EVO.
Noticed that. So this would possibly be the first customized supercharge installation on the planet.
Absolutely.
Would you say that?
And it's a Spyder as well as that. So we've removed the roof to give us full access. It also helps us photography and media and also writing the instructions. Being a Spyder, we actually do remove the roof so that we can change the in-tank fuel pump. As we add more fuel demand, we do need to increase the supply. So the EVO we have found is very similar to the Performante. It's got the same design, center exit exhaust.
Yeah, the exhaust.
So when the flaps open in sport mode, you can actually see the cats right through them.
Okay, that's interesting.
So the short exhaust also allows the exhaust gases to escape quickly and the car to actually stay cool or not really build up too much heat as it's going through the gears.
Yep. And power-wise, what does this supercharger provide?
Great, yeah. This adds 200 horsepower at the crank, and the car is 630 horsepower stock, and then it goes up to 830 horsepower with the supercharger.
Wow.
And it's a fully reversible conversion.
So you can actually bolt that off and just have a stock standard again.
Exactly. So, you know, if you buy another Huracan, say for example, or you're moving from an LP580, working your way up to the 630, you can move the kit with you, or, you know, give it to a friend.
Okay, so perfect. So pretty much it works on any Huracan model.
There are some differences, but we can always support that.
Okay.
That modification.
So little accessory upgrades and
correct, yeah. So the
mounting gear and
exactly the 630 version, the Performante and the EVO have the additional fuel system. So there's an upcharge for that, but you do get more power because of that.
Okay, that's so impressive. And 0 to 60?
0 to 60, we haven't tested in the EVO yet. This is the development car. It's actually getting tuned right now here. We're in the middle of doing testing and data logging and analysis of the data. We did have our Performante, which is the one right behind you, tested by Motor Trend magazine. So Motor Trend magazine tests OEM cars, mostly brand new ones, a really well-known organization here in California. And we were able to get them to test our Performante with the supercharger, even though they don't normally test modified cars. And they voted it as an unofficial fastest car of 2018.
Wow.
And they tested it at 2.2 seconds.
Wow.
0 to 60.
For a 0 to 60 in 2.2 seconds. That is insane. That is like a Bugatti Chiron.
It's actually, I think it's a little quicker, but it's actually the same as the LaFerrari or the 918.
Yeah, that's very quick,
Yeah.
very impressive. And how much is this kit here for the...
The EVO or the Performante kit with the additional fuel system for this specific application is $37,000 US.
Okay.
That excludes the installation.
Yep.
And then the LP610 or the 580, which are the 610 horsepower, 580 horsepower models, they are $30,000 US.
Okay. And it's not necessary to retune the TCU, the transmission ECU?
No, we don't do that on these cars because we found the transmissions to be really reliable as they stand with this power and torque level. And what we do is we do some interesting torque management calculations and recalibration in the ECU software that actually communicates higher values and expectation for the transmission so that it can readjust where it wants to shift and at what torque and at what RPMs it's going to actually shift up or down a gear. So sort of intelligent tuning allows the correct information to travel across the CAN bus system so that the power management system stays integral and it's always communicating. ECU, TCUs are always communicating with each other so that they actually will shift and or adjust accordingly. You know, keeping things as simple as possible is the most important thing in ECU tuning because the OEM has designed so many integrated calculations and functions that if we go in and alter too many, we don't necessarily know too easily without a lot of studying of the function management what knock-on effect one change will have. So keeping it simple is really important.
Yep, so it's just straight engine tuning and that's it.
Exactly.
And it's not necessary to change the exhaust.
No.
They're good enough.
Yeah, exactly. On the Performante and the 610, the exhaust systems are so well engineered to begin with. We can make an improvement in terms of heat dissipation if we isolate the two banks. So the Super Trofeo race cars, you'll notice, actually have the two sides separate. So bank 1 and bank 2 will have their own chambers. A lot of aftermarket systems will join them and make an X system or an H system. For forced induction, we actually prefer a separate bank.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive stuff.
Thank you.
I like it.
Yeah. we designed this kit 10 years ago on the R8 Gen 1, 2009, when the first R8 V10 came out in California. We developed the V10 system side by side with the Gallardo, the 2.9, because they share the same 5.2 engine.
Correct.
Which is just a fantastic platform. The R8 is just...
And that propelled you to Lamborghini and beyond.
Exactly,
yeah. And what about this, the Performante?
Oh,
I can see someone working on it right now. So this is an installation in progress, live,
as we talk.
which is cool. So I can see the car wrap,
Yeah.
which is perfect. We don't scratch the paint.
Absolutely. So a lot of these cars come with a clear film protection on them to begin with. The owners often opt for extra
stone
protection.
wrap.
Yeah, exactly. So we still add this plastic film, gives us an extra protection so we don't add swirl onto the
Yep.
protective film. And then what you see here is mostly OEM componentry.
Yep.
The covers are removed, so it looks a little more complex. However, the main bulk of the work is done in the valley. We remove the intake plenum and add our base plate.
Yep, I see that. It says VF Engineering on it.
It's machined
It's got
from
your logo.
6061 T5 aluminium. It's like aircraft grade aluminium, very popular for manufacturing here in the US. Everything we do is all made in California. We do all the development and all the testing here in-house, and then we subcontract all the manufacturing to aerospace manufacturers.
Okay.
So everything from casting to machining.
So it's all made in the USA.
made in California.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So nice and close and local.
Yeah, we love that. It's
Wow.
really keeps us in control. So we add the supercharger on top of that base plate, and we'll
Yep.
look at the kit in a moment, and we can
Yep.
talk about some of those aspects.
And with these kits, can you get a stage 1, 2, 3, say if somebody wants 1,000 horsepower out
We
of their
don't-
car?
We actually don't. The way we design and tune our products is to add a 6 to 7 PSI system,
Yep.
and then we see what the car wants to produce with a certain amount of ignition timing.
Okay.
And then we will actually back it down a little to keep in some headroom, and that's typically where we end up. So we typically find, because we've been designing supercharger kits for like 22 years, and all of the kits, we've always stuck to between 6 and 7 PSI. So we're chasing...
So it's a safe...
Exactly.
Okay.
We're chasing reliability
Yep.
rather than setting a power number as our target for our goal.
Yep.
We've found that when we chase power, we're compromising, or then we're having to upgrade a lot of other components. And like I was saying earlier, we just like to keep it simple and quick and reversible.
Yep.
That allows us to use the stock clutches, it allows us to use the stock ECU, and in many cases the stock exhaust system, the stock fuel system, and keep the car as simple as possible, but add some excitement. 30% more power in a 600
That'll be very
horsepower
thrilling.
in a V10 like this. Just
Oh, yeah.
changes the car completely.
Oh, definitely would. This is already wild as it is. I remember driving the the Huracan Performante and saying, wow, this thing pops, crackles,
Yeah.
kicks out the rear tires as well. Although it's an all-wheel drive system,
Right.
it still manages to,
Full stop from
you
the
know,
factory. right
yeah,
out of the
yeah.
box.
So I
All
can't
the
imagine how much quicker it would be with your system.
Oh, well, we'll find out, won't we?
Yeah,
We'll go out in a minute.
we have to jump into one. And tell me about this matte black car, because
Right.
this looks cool. It looks menacing.
Yeah,
I like that word.
a lot of people refer to the cars that are blacked out as murdered out.
Yeah,
term
yeah,
here in
yep.
California, or Darth Vadered.
Yep.
So this is a gloss black car, and we had it just clear film, the XPEL stealth film. So XPEL makes a protective film, and then they
Yep.
make a stealth version, which is the opaque finish.
Which you can put it on top of a gloss car
Yes.
and turn it into matte. We've done that to my Speciale.
Oh, nice.
So it's
Brilliant.
white, gloss white. We put the same film
Makes it look
as
so
well.
unique,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
it
it's
looks so
protecting the
unique.
paint
Yep,
at the same time.
correct. And it looks like it's a factory job,
Right.
especially when you go over the edges
Yeah.
like in your car,
Yeah.
which I couldn't tell. So it's a good job. Job well done.
Thanks, yeah.
But what I did notice is this here has a red supercharged cover,
Yeah,
but some others had gold.
that's right.
What is the difference?
Just the color choice. We just opted for the contrast, black car,
Okay,
red charger.
so people can actually choose any color that they want.
They
If you
can,
want
yeah.
blue, red, purple.
Yeah, there's a little
Even
extra
pink?
we don't discriminate.
Okay.
Power is power, right?
Yep. Yep.
So you can have pink power or red power. The manifold on the Performantes is bronze to begin with,
Yep.
and we wanted it to stand out a little more. We normally do them in bronze or gold, depending on the owner's taste. But we thought, let's go red so it turns some heads,
Okay.
and add a little bit of graphics, a little bit of a graphic theme from the Sesto Elemento,
Yep.
one of my favorites. And
Love that car.
Oh yeah. So otherwise, this car is identical to the one being installed. We
Yep.
haven't done any other modifications to it. Stock exhaust, stock wheels, stock suspension, everything is stock. So I like to demonstrate the product in a way that it's as close to what you'll get if you
Yep.
were to choose it.
So this would be 850 horsepower.
Yeah, close to really
Yep.
830.
Yep.
And if
830.
we can add some race gas to it and get a little bit more.
Wow. Cool. And I've noticed that there's this driven project, it
Yes.
says. Kevin Gordon.
Kevin Gordon, exactly.
Uh,
Kevin Gordon from Vancouver in Canada.
Yep.
His entire theme is about helping children and people in need,
Yep.
helping to influence younger people with the different aspects of life and just excitement and infusing some energy and excitement into children's lives, perhaps children who are not as fortunate as everybody else, to, you know, really give that crowd and that community, give back to the community. So that's the theme of his car, and he supercharged it with us, had a lot of extras added to the car.
It's got the bronze coloured supercharger.
Yeah, that's there to match the wheels. And he tours the country with the car. So right now it's here in California. And
so he sent it to you from Canada?
So we store cars for friends and clients here, and then they fly in, drive them around, go back, and then we ship them back to them wherever they are. So that car is from Ohio, and that car's from Texas.
Yep.
So we'll cater to a lot of people.
Yeah, because I noticed that your products are also sold in Australia, in the UK. Yeah. I've seen them everywhere and all over the internet. Yeah, hence why it brought us here.
Amazing.
To meet you and see you in person. Just love it.
And you guys are hardcore Audi enthusiasts.
Yeah.
So I love that.
We love Audi, we love Lamborghini,
Yeah.
we love anything with speed that's exotic and, you know,
Fantastic.
pretty much European as well.
You've got good roads in Sydney, right, for this?
Yeah.
And we've tested the fuel comparably to what we have in the US, and it's very, very similar. So the power numbers we see over here, we've also seen and duplicated.
They'll be represented in Australia as well.
Yeah. So the car community appears really strong from what we've seen over here in
Yeah,
Australia.
it is very strong. For a small population, 24 to 25 million people, we do love our cars.
Oh, yeah.
We are crazy about cars, especially with Ferraris, Lambos and R8s, wow. But tell me more about this red car. It's got a, what is this? It's a chrome red foil wrap?
So it is, red chrome foil. I don't know the exact term for the actual color code, but he just had this wrapped locally.
Okay.
And he's got a couple of different businesses, and he uses the car and a few other cars. He's got his own channel as well. Yep. Will Motivation. He's a great guy. He's got a couple of different Lambos. We've supercharged it, as you can see. He went for the bronze finish, and
it would have looked great with a red one.
Well, yeah, no,
it would match the car.
We actually did a Huracan which had a blue foil finish.
Yep.
And we put the blue foil paint on the supercharger. Wow. It was really like something else.
Yeah, so if he wanted to change a color now from bronze to red.
It'd be quite a bit of work.
Yeah. Possible, so you can do it?
Everything can be done.
Yep.
Yeah, so we can accommodate pretty much anything.
Nice.
If there's no other challenges at the time. But this car, has been around the country, and he's actually potentially flying in, I think, in a week to go and visit some friends and car enthusiasts around Orange County, California, around LA in general. Yep. And just spread the word of what he does and just having fun. Supercar ownership has really changed, I think. I don't know how the culture is in Australia relative to what we have here, but I'm seeing in the last 6 months to 12 months that supercars are being used. Community. Yeah, bring charities together, people together. Organizations. Yeah, it's positive mindsets. Correct. It's like what they say with food. Food brings people to the table regardless of religion, political beliefs and everything. People can actually sit down and eat together, right? Yeah. And now with cars, it's like people can actually sit down, enjoy, talk about cars like how we're doing right now, and drive them, go out on a charity run, have fun in life, and just get on. That's it. It's all about getting along. Totally. And, when we share positive feelings with each other, then it doesn't matter what brand of car you have, right? Yeah. Whether it's a Lamborghini or a Ferrari. Car enthusiast is a car enthusiast. Exactly. We all get along for that reason. Correct. Yeah. Now this is very impressive here, being in this workshop. It's just amazing. And I like that I can actually see a McLaren car. I love cars from the UK. Everybody knows that. Aston Martin is one of my favourites. You don't do Aston Martin, do you? We do. We did a V12 twin turbo a couple of weeks ago. Beautiful. Unbelievable. The Vantage V12. I love them. Yeah, and I noticed there's another McLaren there, a 650S. Yep, 650S here from Hawaii. Believe it or not. Oh wow, Hawaii! Wow, exactly. And a Supra next to it. Yeah, so that is a brand new Supra. It is so dusty. I like that. Yeah, it's been in the desert racing. Wow, and an M3. Yep. We've also tuned that. Some more cars lots of toys. We just
Yeah.
love playing with toys, right?
Awesome. And now you've got this Porsche 911, so it's the 991.2
Correct.
Carrera 4 GTS. What are you doing to this car?
Well, you know the point twos have turbos, right?
Yeah,
Which
twin
is
turbo,
amazing.
yep.
Now, car manufacturers have put turbos in everything.
Yeah, correct.
Audi's done that in all of the cars, the S4, the S5, the
Yeah,
RS5.
emissions, EPA.
Exactly, but that's giving us more room to make more power.
Yeah.
So on this car, we turn up the boostery software.
Yep.
We've got the car on our four-wheel drive Mustang dyno. So that's got the load module, and this is obviously a four-wheel drive car, and we're able to measure the power at all four wheels. On the screen there, you'll see the baseline number. So what we'll do is we'll data log the car. So we'll measure ignition timing, exhaust gas temperatures, lambda. We'll measure throttle, a whole number of variables to see how the car is performing with stock software on this dyno.
Yep.
And then we'll go into the software. We'll read out the factory software. On this particular car, it has to be unlocked first. The ECU has to be physically unlocked.
So you download the software?
Yeah, we remove the ECU and
Crack it?
on the point twos. Currently, we're not aware of any solution to just direct port flash it before it's unlocked. So once it's unlocked, it's put back in, and then we can port flash it.
Okay.
So we'll look at the software in our lab, and then we'll be able to look at where the different parameters are within the ranges that we want to tune the car, and then we'll increase all the key parameters, boost,
And rough
lambda.
power?
Rough power on this car, we're probably anticipating a gain of around 40 to 50 horsepower at all four wheels and about 60 pounds of torque at all four wheels.
So that would equate to about plus, say, 20%. So you could say 70 horsepower at the engine, at the crank.
We'll see about 30 on this dyno because it's so stringent.
Yep.
But one of the most important things for us is when we compare, it's like, you know, when you're with your friends, we're comparing like whose car is the fastest. My Lambo's faster than your Audi. I prefer to compare what this was before we touched it.
Yep.
So when we're comparing, it's not really fair to compare, you know, across brands because we're all starting in different places. Right? So we're going to compare the power of what it makes to what it came in with to see the gain. So the delta is really the boasting factor.
Yep.
So like my car gained 70 horsepower by tuning it, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that
and,
sounds...
You know, then it doesn't make other car owners necessarily feel bad. I mean, I'm not trying to compare the 991.2 turbo to, say, an Audi RS5 because they're in different levels.
Yeah, it's a different category, different type of sports car.
Exactly.
And I can see that you have so much enthusiasm to do this sort of work.
Oh, yeah,
so what made you do this? When did you first start?
Well, I started in about the late 90s, so 97. I had a Golf VR6, the 2.8 litre Mark III VW, and I am a hardcore Volkswagen fan.
So are we.
Well, that's why we're friends, right? So
we've got every Golf R from day one.
You have?
Yes,
so
and R32
you know the
as
Mark
well.
III VR6 2.8. I had a Golf 3 Synchro. I bought it from Germany, left-hand drive, four-wheel drive 2.8, and I came across a supercharger system for it, put it in, and realized that it could do with some improving, just like I improved the power in my Golf. And it was just amazing. So I started to refine that and make it, and then I started selling it here in the US. And then I made kits for BMWs, M3s, the 540, all the different BMWs of that era. And then I started 911s with the 996,
okay,
the 3.4, 3.8, and all the 997s. Got into the Audis, the S4 4.2 V8. I love Audis and Volkswagen. Everything Volkswagen Audi make, and now they own Porsche majority. Right? Yeah. They own Lamborghini.
Yeah. so let's be honest here. Some of the most important cars on the planet you've basically worked on and started with.
Yes.
The cars that everybody loves the most as well, Golfs. Right. In Australia, we love Golfs, man. Yeah. They're everywhere. R's, R32. Right. Our Mark 6, we've modified that a bit. We've given that a stage 3 now.
Oh, nice.
And we're looking at stage 4, so bigger turbo.
Do you remember the... Oh, wow, yeah, that's good. Those things haul.
Yeah.
They do. Do you remember the Bentley engined Golf 5?
Yes.
Right? So do you remember how the aesthetics, they made the front bumper, they put that big V12 turbo engine in there. So can you see that? It's amazing, isn't it? How all of the things they did to that car back in 2007.
Yeah, 2007.
They have a lot of those things have transferred into the current production cars.
Yeah, correct.
So it's
And
amazing
the Golf
how they're really
7.5
like
as well.
Yeah, they're catering towards us fans.
Yeah,
People
they
who
are.
love their
They are.
stuff.
They're clearly adjusting, which
They
is
are.
good. They're listening to the consumer,
Yeah.
which is what we like. And I think they've listened to people wanting a turbo
Right.
in a Porsche,
I see.
in a 911.
Yeah.
Because the only way you could get a twin turbo or a turbo setup was buying a turbo. You had to spend, say in Australia, about 400,000.
Yeah.
That's their starting price,
Oh, I see.
pretty much.
Yeah.
But now you can buy the stock standard Carrera, the
Right.
latest one.
Yeah.
It has, it's twin turbo. You can juice it up by another 70
Which is
horsepower
amazing.
possibly.
Yeah.
And it's at 250,000.
Right.
So it's a lot cheaper.
Fraction there.
And the tune is how much? 4.5 US?
Yeah, it's the tune for this car is about 2,000 US.
So
dollars.
okay, even cheaper.
Yes.
So then you can get a car that performs just as good as a previous generation turbo
Right.
for less than that.
It's amazing.
Less than that used.
So
but you're
we're-
buying a
we're
brand new
getting
car.
So much for our money.
Yeah,
Because these
with
cars are
tuning.
such good value for money, and then the tuning gives us even more value.
Yeah, more power.
And so it's literally like Volkswagen said, right? Power to the people.
Yeah, yeah. So they've done that, which is awesome.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah, these things are so reliable, including all the GT3s, the
Yep.
GT2s. Those things are just
Oh,
great for the truck.
beautiful cars.
Really.
Bulletproof engines
Really
as well.
reliable.
Yeah, and the gearboxes, the PDK, the
Yeah.
shifts are just phenomenal.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, no, thanks for this coverage.
My pleasure.
I think it's time to check out
Yeah.
your warehouse.
Yeah, let me show you where we assemble our products.
Yeah.
So we've been designing Supercharger Kits for 20 plus years, and have been here in this location for coming up to it'll be our 20th year here this month, middle of December.
Wow.
So it's been interesting. It's been an interesting journey. So this is our new kit for the R8 V8 4.2.
Yep.
We're about to release it. We've released it on a couple of cars, a couple of beta testers. And what we have is the head unit. This is designed by Magnuson, probably like 8-9 years ago. They designed it for the aftermarket, and then it was widely available through other companies
Yep.
who made their own accessories to drive and cool and fuel and tune the system. We started with just this unit and created everything else ourselves. So we've got the belt drive system, the crank pulley, we've got an intricate fuel and oil system, which the Supercharger actually got in the way of and required us to relocate the oil filter housing. There was some real estate in that engine bay that we needed for the
Yep.
Supercharger. So we moved the oil filter, and then we actually had to reproduce the low pressure fuel lines and create our own fuel distribution block, the cooling system, and again, you see the water reservoir and the radiator. There's a pump to circulate the cooling, and again, software. So this kit will actually take the car up from 420 horsepower to about 600, 605 horsepower at the flywheel.
Okay, so on par with the latest V10.
Yeah, the peak numbers are, and actually that's a really interesting conversation, because a lot of people, when they're talking about power numbers, are comparing peak numbers. But when you really look at the trace, the
You've
power
got to look
curve,
at the RPM, low RPM, the power
the power
down
under
low,
the
and then the
curve.
torque as
Right,
well.
So this kit makes a lot more torque than an R8 V10 Gen 2.
Okay,
Yeah. a
so you can
V10
pretty much install this on your R8 V8, which is about 100,000 AUD back
Yeah.
home in Australia.
All right.
And how much is this kit?
16,000 US.
Okay, so let's say about 28,000.
Mhm.
So $128,000, and you can have a car that's faster than a V10.
V10 Plus.
Yeah, V10 Plus.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's half the price. Not bad at all. And people do prefer the look of the Gen 1. A lot of people do.
Yeah, yeah,
It still has that very iconic look.
it does.
We first found it in Iron Man, was
Yes,
it?
That's right.
Yeah.
It was.
And iRobot started that
Trend.
trend back in the early days, in
I
the
remember
early
they had
2000s.
concept
Yeah, concept Audi, then it moved to the R8. Yeah,
Yeah. What a fantastic car the R8.
yeah, it is.
So
it
that's
is.
why we decided to put some time and energy into going back and recreating this kit
Yep.
for the V8, because there was so many
owners
enthusiasts.
as well. Yeah,
We've got a lot of R8 V10 Supercharger owners, and that's kind of left a lot of the V8 owners out on their own with no real upgrade path from VF.
Mm.
So we thought, well, let's go back and let's make it.
yeah, it's a good idea.
I love Audi, so there's no way we could.
I can see the passion. I can see it. And I can feel it too now. Well, I'm about to feel it, I think, in one of the cars. So how about we check them out? Let's go for a spin. So which car are we going to drive first?
Let's take out the Huracan 610.
The red one?
Yeah.
Perfect.
I will grab the keys.
Hear that, guys? We're going to take that red Huracan for a drive. This thing is going to be sweet.